So here's the thing, people are not just traveling anymore, they are leaving their hometowns for good. And so I wanted to dive into that in this episode. If you don't know me, my name is Nadia, and this is She Builds Again. This is a space for women who are ready to build again in a new location, in a new part of the world, a place that really aligns to the woman that they are called to be, the woman they desire to be, and the lifestyle they believe that they deserve. And so if that is you, then you're in the right place. I share all about my story. I was 35 years old when I left my hometown in Bermuda, which is very close to North America, 2 hours from New York. And my family and I left our hometown and moved to Bali, Indonesia. We've been here for 3.5 years, and we have lived a completely different style of life, quality of life, cost of living, all of those things. And so I'm going to be diving into that in this video about why are people choosing to leave and not go back to their hometowns. It's not about just a little vacation for 2 weeks, you have fun, you go back and you settle into life. You are deciding that you do not want part of that system anymore, and you want to make a different part of the world your new home and set up a stable life there. And so we're going to be talking about that in this video. The first question that I wanted to answer is, what is driving so many people to consider leaving their home countries? So there's so many different reasons. I think cost of living is a huge one. What we realize is that for our pay and what we're making in terms of salary and then taxes and all of these things, you are not really able to do the things that you used to be, that your parents' generation could do, that your grandparents' generation could do. They could buy houses, they could, easily take care of 3 or 4 kids. And now people are struggling to take care of 1 kid with the cost of daycare and all of the things. It just feels so stifling. The rising interest for loans, for the bank, for houses, for even cars, it can just feel so overwhelming, like you are spinning your wheels and you are getting nowhere because you're working around the clock and you are just not getting ahead. You cannot figure out how to save, how to pay student loans, how to just provide your family with a lifestyle that is enjoyable and that you can actually spend time together and not just spend all your life working. Right? And so I think the rise in cost of living is a huge one. And I think that another thing is that we realize, and because we have so much access to information these days, we realize that the dream that we were sold is not accurate, but also that this dream that we were sold, it's not actually fulfilling us. We're deciding for ourselves what we want our lives to look like. We're not just going with the status quo. We're not just going with what we've been told and fed through the media. We are putting our thinking caps on and really deciding what we want our lives to look and feel like. And I think that's such a beautiful thing. And there are so many stories of people who have done it. I'm not the only one. There are so many people who have left different parts of the world and have stumbled upon a better quality of life. They have been intentional and chosen different countries to live and to relocate, whether they're a single person or a family, and they just have opened up so many doors because they took that chance and relocated to Europe, or in my case, Southeast Asia. And so there's definitely many options out there. A lot of people move to Mexico as well, and there's different parts of Latin America and South America that are actually a really good quality of life, but there's pros and cons for sure in each part of the world. And so the next question that I wanted to answer in this video is, what are people waking up to about life, work, and the systems? So I think in general, like if you are reading the news, if you are even looking and scrolling through social media, it can just feel so overwhelming right now. All of the things that are going on in the world, there are genocides, there are war, there are just so many bad players when it comes to the political systems, especially in America and places like that. And so it can just feel so overwhelming and like you don't have control over what's happening in not only the world, but also in your life, right? Because these systems were set up far before we came into the employment system, before we graduated and started to get married and look for partners. But the reality is that we're realizing that these systems actually don't really benefit us that much anymore. And we are starting to think for ourselves about what are the other options and what are the other countries. There are so many different visas that are now available to us in the 2026. So what are the different options that are available to us, and are we willing to make a plan, save up, and actually take the risk and the leap of faith to try something different in a different part of the world? And I think it really does come to asking yourself some really important questions about what kind of life you're being provided in the country that you're in, and whether that actually works for you, or whether you are settling, or whether you can find better somewhere else. And so I remember there's a YouTuber called Nomad Capitalist, and he would always say this in his videos. He would say this phrase, "Go where you're treated best." And I just remember it so vividly, and it just stays with me because it's so true. We have options now. We don't have to just take whatever we've been given because we were born in a specific part of the world, which is something that's outside of our control in most circumstances, right? Unless your parents decided to move you to a certain place. But even then, it's still outside of your control, right? You don't personally get to choose. And so the reality is that it is just so important to go and to figure out, go and travel, go and visit these places, but figure out where you get the best quality of life, maybe a good cost of living. And that is definitely available to most people, and it's much better than in the West. In some parts of Europe are very expensive, but I think there are still some pockets that allow you that freedom, that flexibility, that better work-life balance that you're just so craving and so deserve. And so places, I keep stumbling over my words, but thank you for your patience with me. So there's places like Portugal, there's places like, Southeast Asia, Bali, Thailand, Malaysia are some of the popular ones. Then there's places like Spain, which is quite popular as well in Europe. There's so many different options. There's Italy. I've even seen different videos online that they have this program where you can buy a house for like €1 and fix it up and renovate it and make it what you want it to be. And so I think that people are waking up to this idea that there are other options out there for them, depending on what their lifestyle choices are, how they want to spend their time. If you want to be, in a Mediterranean city, or if you want to be on the coast, or if you want to be maybe in a city in Asia, there's so many different options that are available to us now. And thankfully, these countries are welcoming some foreigners, depending on your passport, depending on the visa options available, depending on your work. But there are definitely different visa options available. And so do your research and find out, based on where you're from, which options are the most enjoyable, most exciting, but also just the most practical for you and your family when it comes to relocating. And so the last question that I wanted to answer in this video is, what should someone really consider before deciding to leave? So one of the things I really encourage people to consider and ask themselves before they leave is this question: are you running away from something, or are you really pursuing a better life, better opportunities for yourself? And so, are you running away from a problem or a experience or, an environment? Are you running away from it? Or can you honestly say that you have tried it, cannot change that particular thing, and are, with eyes wide open, going toward a better opportunity and better just quality of life that you desire for yourself and your family? Because the reality is that if you're running from something, maybe you made some mistakes and you don't want to face that, and then you decide to just leave and start all over. What I've learned through my own experience is that you're going to find that same experience when you move. And when I say that, I mean because you have to take yourself with you. And so make sure that you're doing some of the healing work before you leave, so that when you get to your new destination, you are not someone that is broken and running away from something. You are someone who is healed or healing and ready to pursue just better, a new chapter, and something that's going to be a enjoyable experience for you to thrive and not just survive with your family. And so the last thing I will leave you with before I round out this episode is to really look at the finances. And I know I have some videos about this already and how my husband and I were able to save for about 2 years in order to afford our move overseas and just make sure that we had a big enough safety net. But make sure that you really look at the cost of living in that country that you're going to, assess what you're going to be doing for work, whether you maybe have a job that you can transition to online remote, or whether you're going to have to start your own business, or whatever the case may be. Try to figure out what those real numbers are going to be and what they're going to look like for you and your family, so that you have a really clear picture of like the cost of living, but also your income and how you're going to continue to meet your future goals, because you still have to save for retirement. You still have to think long term about your financial plan for yourself and your family. So those would be my suggestions if you are thinking of making a move and relocating. But there's so many of us that are doing this because I think that we've realized and we've woken up to the fact that there are different options out there, and we are not forced to stay somewhere just because we were born in a certain part of the world anymore. Thankfully, we have options available to us, and thankfully we have the freedom, if we so decide, to express that kind of courage muscle and really take a leap of faith and try something new. We do have those options available to us. So go where you're treated best and find a place that really allows you to live the best possible life and become the best version of yourself. So that's it for this episode. Thanks for joining me. And if you haven't already, please like and subscribe. I'd love for you to be part of this community as we continue to grow and I continue to share my tips and advice about relocating with a family and relocating to Southeast Asia. So bye for now. Thanks so much. Bye.